It had been 8 years since the day my world fell apart. 8 years since my husband, Daniel, discovered the affair I had with my boss, a man whose charm and authority pulled me into a world of excitement and reckless desire. At the time, I believed I had everything under control. My career was thriving, my secret hidden, and my marriage running on autopilot. But the moment Daniel confronted me, everything collapsed. His heartbreak, his quiet rage, and the disappointment in his eyes cut deeper than any words ever could, leaving a permanent scar on my soul. That day I walked away from our home, convinced I could rebuild a life of freedom without regret. 8 years later, I was about to face the man I had once betrayed, and I had no idea how much had changed, or how much I had truly lost. I arrived at the small cafe where he had agreed to meet me, my stomach knotted with nerves. I rehearsed my apology again and again, trying to imagine his reaction, but deep down I knew I could never fully prepare. The door opened, and there he was. Daniel looked calm and composed, yet every bit the man who had once held my heart. Time had softened some of his edges, but the intensity in his eyes remained. The same eyes that had seen through my lies 8 years ago now held a quiet strength I had failed to value back then. My breath caught. I had expected anger, maybe even resentment. Instead, his expression was controlled and unreadable, making my heart race. "Hello, Sarah," he said simply, his voice steady but heavy with meaning. I forced a smile, the words I'd practiced in the car dissolving into a shaky "hi." He gestured to the table and I sat down, painfully aware of the years between us, yet feeling as if no time had passed at all. The cafe felt unusually quiet, as though the world itself understood the weight of the moment unfolding between us. I searched his face, hoping for a hint of forgiveness, a trace of the love we once shared. Instead, I found only a deep stillness, an unreadable calm that both frightened and fascinated me. I tried to speak, to explain, to justify, to offer words that might heal even a small part of the damage I had caused. "Daniel, I know I was selfish. I made the worst mistake of my life. He raised a hand, stopping me. The gesture was calm and deliberate, yet powerful enough to silence me instantly. "Sarah," he said quietly, "I've heard enough apologies to last a lifetime. What I want to know is whether you understand what you've lost, not what you think I've lost." His words pierced me more sharply than any anger could have. They weren't loud or cruel. They were truths I had spent years avoiding. In that moment, I understood that no charm, no excuse, no explanation could undo the consequences of what I had done. We sat in silence, the weight of unspoken history pressing down on us. I saw the life I could have had reflected in his eyes, a life built on trust, companionship, and quiet happiness, discarded for fleeting thrills. 8 years had passed, yet the memory of my betrayal remained vivid, etched into the space between us. Daniel's expression didn't change, but disappointment radiated from him, forming an invisible barrier I could not cross. I had imagined this meeting countless times, but nothing prepared me for the depth of loss I felt staring at the man who had once been my entire world. Finally, I spoke again, my voice trembling. I thought, I thought I could fix it. I thought I could move on and rebuild, I admitted, each word tasting like ash. Daniel shook his head slowly, his jaw tightening as his calm slipped just enough to reveal the pain beneath. "Some things can't be fixed, Sarah," he said. "Some mistakes don't get a second chance. What you didn't just hurt me. It changed the direction of both our lives." His words were simple, yet they struck harder than any confrontation. I realized that 8 years of denial and avoidance had led me to this moment. Facing the irreversible consequences of my choices, and the man I once believed I could sway now completely beyond my reach, I lowered my gaze, overwhelmed by shame, regret, and a lingering love I could no longer claim. Memories flashed through my mind. Our wedding day, quiet mornings, the laughter we once shared, all now eclipsed by the selfish choices that had stolen them from me. Daniel didn't need to raise his voice or condemn me. The quiet authority of his presence, the steady weight of his disappointment, was more than enough. In that moment, I understood I hadn't just lost a husband. I had lost trust, love, and respect, things that once broken can never truly be restored. The cafe stayed silent, the outside world moving on, unaware of the private reckoning unfolding within. Daniel stood, resting a hand lightly on my shoulder, not as comfort, but as closure. You need to live with this, Sarah. Not with anger, not with hatred, but with the understanding of what your choices cost you. That's your lesson, not mine. His calm, deliberate words left me trembling. Every trace of pride, arrogance, and selfishness drained away, replaced by the stark awareness of my own undoing. 8 years of running from the consequences ended there, face to face with the man I had hurt most. As he walked away, the eyes that once held love, fury, and heartbreak now reflected only quiet certainty. I stayed seated, frozen, finally grasping the depth of what I had lost. For 8 years, I had imagined reconciliation, forgiveness, a return to something familiar. But staring at the empty space he left behind, I understood that some losses are permanent, irreversible, and unavoidable. The man I loved, the life I treasured, and the respect I took for granted were gone. No apology, no charm, no explanation could ever bring them back. When I eventually left the cafe, I felt hollow, broken, and painfully aware of the choices that led me there. 8 years had allowed me to avoid the truth, to live inside illusions of forgiveness. Facing Daniel shattered those illusions completely. I had lost not only a husband, but a life, a love, and a trust that could never be repaired. The look in his eyes, calm yet devastating, said more than any confrontation ever could. In that moment, I understood the true cost of betrayal. Not the fleeting thrill, not the secrecy, but the permanent loss that follows when the wronged find strength, resolve, and closure. I had finally faced him, and I would never forget what I had truly lost.